what can we actually do to help the folks in these stories to get better, to have the lives that they want. Um,
And what did the cognitive behavioral therapy like teach? Like what was that moment like, or how does that work? Like as opposed to
yeah.
just a story.
Sure.
Can you
So cognitive behavioral therapy teaches that basically there are different entry points into changing our behaviors. So the cognitive piece is identifying the thoughts that you're having and testing the thought. So is that a realistic thought? Is that a true thought? And focusing on creating more positive thoughts that are um, more true to who you want to be, who you are. um, that's one of the things that drives our feelings. The a big piece of this is actually not even in the CBT is the sensory motor. So that is understanding what's happening in the body, what triggers fight or flight, what
Mm,
happens during fight or flight. So all of the chemical mechanisms, the adrenaline, the cortisol, the reactions that are created, understanding that when you don't feel safe, um, that that there are all these chain reactions. You actually, your eyes physically, your pupils physically dilate, and you see people around you as dangerous. There's so many messages in this that when educators understand that and they see their students' reactions, they can easily label fight, flight, fight, flight, and understand that it's not a student, you know, purposely being, I don't know, negative or purposely trying to argue. It is an automatic reaction. And it's really based on, a lot of it can be helped with the environment that you create when you set up and put in place the conditions for a happy, healthy, safe, connected classroom. The other piece is is the behavior. So starting to being able to study what are my behaviors? What do I do when difficult things happen? Because then you can choose different behaviors and learning coping strategies. That's a big part of the cognitive behavioral therapy model is when I notice I'm getting upset, I can take 3 deep breaths and actually practicing the deep breaths, meditation, yoga, exercise, knowing when to sleep. So those are all parts of the CBT therapy.
so I just have to ask this.
Yeah.
One of my friends is a teacher, and I remember her talking about, kids that were just they had bad behavior. They were bad. They were labeled as bad.
Yeah.
Would this, like, are some kid, I always wondered, are some kids just bad, or are they in that fight or flight and no one knows that? So they keep, boom, 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 they're trying what they're trying, but they're not getting into, you know what I mean? What you were just talking about. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, not only are they trying what they're trying, but the world around them is reinforcing the story. So it is a constant negative cycle where they think they're bad, they do something bad, the people around them tell them they're bad,
Mm,
and it continues to get worse and worse and worse. Um, and all of those different pieces I just mentioned. So the thoughts, the behavior, the
right.
sensory motor reaction. So not only are they like hyper vigilant because they think that everyone around them doesn't like them, but then the people around them are actively, unhappy with them, which makes them more hyper
Mm.
vigilant. Like, so it's a negative cycle. Um,
And can you break it? I mean, it seems like the Kikori stuff would be able to break that cycle, the bad behavior, quote unquote.
that's
Right.
so I think the experiential approach is one of the most powerful for the students that that are typically in that category or seen in that way, or an MTSS tier 2 tier 3 students. The work that my professor did in adventure therapy, those are the students that are never successful in school. A lot of times that's the last resort. And for a lot of those kids, doing adventure therapy is the only thing that does work. But that's removing them even from, from schools, and bringing in a wilderness, just, removing the phones, removing a lot of those pieces so they can um, recreate, who they are, get in touch with who they actually are on the inside. But yeah, I think that's a great point just to bring up because so many of us see kids in this way, and it's just education. It's just understanding the automatic responses, and and noticing it in ourselves first. That's always the first step.